Hi! Based on my prior uploads, where me and my friends would play Forsaken, as well as this video being about Forsaken in a way, you'll probably assume that I like the game. I have a love-hate relationship with the game. I do enjoy the gameplay to an extent. I fucking hate these goddamn mosquitoes. But I will say, just being a fan in general feels like constantly being beaten down, and the moment you think things could get better, you just get beaten down even more. Essentially, it's tiring. So, I kinda want this to be an escape from all the drama and such. Essentially, don't talk about any sort of developer drama. I don't want any mentions of Soul. Keep that stuff away from the comments. I'd rather have the comments be about the art. Moving on. Something that Forsaken has is skins. A lot of them. And of those skins are some skins based on characters from a funky little game series known as the Mother series, also known as Earthbound in the West. And I had this idea of, you know what, considering that Earthbound was developed by HAL Laboratories, maybe it isn't going to be as big of a jump to think that this could actually be put into the game. The Earthbound skins were released back before 2-time was useful. Honestly, I procrastinated on this video. Plus also, like, I didn't think my channel was going to be art related back then. So yeah, but soon enough, I actually finally did it. And then suddenly, drama. I'm not going to go into exactly what it is, just know that it happened like, I believe, late September. I decided to make some of the Kirby characters into Forsaken skins. I went through each of the characters, figured out which ones I wanted to have and which ones I didn't want to have, and which of the characters in Forsaken would fit. So, let's go ahead and go! Alright, so there is probably one question you're thinking in your mind, because, well, how do I even translate these characters into, well, Forsaken skins? If you didn't realize it, Robloxians are vaguely humanoid. Hi, Zeus! Hi! Anyways, Robloxians are vaguely humanoid. So how would I even do this? Well, there is this thing called Jinkas. I apologize if I am mispronouncing it. And I apologize if you hear any dog in the background. Anyways, a Jinka is essentially just anthropomorphic in Japanese. So obviously, I would need to kind of do something more human for these guys. And thus, that's where we get to the speed paint. First off, what character did I make? The main character of the Kirby series, Kirby. I made them noob. Now, there's actually a reason for this. I felt like noobs kind of fit Kirby the best. And also just their general style, too. Well, yes, technically speaking, I could arguably put Kirby in any sort of spot, to an extent. You know, like hell, I'm going to make him a fucking Dusakar skin or V skin. He wasn't even in the game when I made this! But anyways, as you can of course see, I decided to make the Kirby skin yellow. Effectively, what I'm gonna be doing is just using these skin tones. For the actual design, I gave them a hoodie, since that's one of the most common depictions of Kirby as a human. I gave them a little ahoge in the shape of a heart, and a bit of stars on their hoodie. And also, of course, shorts and little shoes, with a little blush. For a little quirk of this skin, I feel like it would be interesting to kind of have them have color variants. But like how, say, Jock 2-time is. The color variants being all the different Kirbys. Of course, pink being our usual Kirby, yellow being Kiwi, and then blue, green, and red being references to some of the other Kirbys that appear as player 2, 3, and 4. You get the point. Now as for the kit, I decided to have there be custom items. So the Ghost Burger I made into an onigiri, one of the common healing items in Kirby. For Slate Skin, I made it a milk bottle. I was originally going to have it be a rock ability, but I did kind of decide that it would be better to just make it a milk bottle because it's a bit easier. And then for Deluxe Cola, I made it an energy drink. So I feel like it does kind of fit. Now of course, then we get to the expressions. I didn't do emoting expressions, I only did some of the basic ones, but we have normal, below 50%, hurt, and dead. Hurt and dead is supposed to be a reference to how Kirby appears when they get hurt or they are dead, aka game over. So yeah. That is Kirby. I accidentally just opened up OBS. I am so fucking smart. Fuck off, OBS. Okay. He is probably the harder one to think of. Not the hardest, by God. But honestly, the guy who I made him is probably a bit confusing, maybe. But hear me out. I decided to make Dedede into Shiletsky. Okay, yeah, I know Dedede doesn't use a sword, but I feel like a hammer would at least be a bit different. And if anything, it can kind of just be like bonking the killer. So I gave him his hammer. And also, I feel like Shiletsky works as well because he is the one who has a healing item, aka chicken. I did change it to something a bit more iconic from Kirby. I'll get to that in a bit. But in Dedede's first appearance, he stole all the food in Dreamland. And also he's a fat ass. So you know what, it fits. So yeah. Now for the design, the closest thing to making Dedede recognizable as Shiletsky is keeping the eyes. That's probably one of the more recognizable traits, admittedly. Plus also Dedede already has those eyes, so it still works. I gave Dedede his usual getup, a beard to represent his beak, the beard being blue to have a bit of contrast with the rest of the skin. Essentially, I just kind of used Dedede's outfit as a reference and just made it into what I drew it as. There isn't really much else to say, I would say. For the back, I did add in the little design that he has on the back, which is essentially just him putting up a peace sign. For the hammer, I did make sure to have the design within it, and also made it decently sized because, you know. For his kit, of course he has the hammer, but also I decided to give him a maximum tomato. A maximum tomato is one of the main healing items that heals you to 100%. So in terms of like how maximum tomato would actually work, considering that it's not going to be a full heal, usually. Let's just say that it was nerfed to high fucking hell by the Spectra. I mean, that's reasonable, right? But I just wanted to have a maximum tomato because it is kind of it is actually a bit iconic in a way. And then below that I had kind of a demonstration of how the sword would work. Essentially just bonking the bonking the killer over the head with his hammer. And then of course we get to expressions. We have the normal expression, below 50%, hurt, successful slash, and then dead. Honestly though, King Dedede was definitely not the hardest one to do, but at the very least, he was a little bit complicated. Okay, you probably already know who this is based on the fact there's 2 instead of 1, but if you don't, I decided to make Meta Knight into 2-time. Let me explain my thought process. So first off, Shaletsky was already taken by King Dedede, and I wanted to have Meta Knight in there in some way since, well, he is one of the important characters in the Kirby series. So I was thinking, how would I translate Meta Knight into Forsaken? And then I thought of 2-time, a character who has a dagger in a second form. In fact, we actually had some skins where the first 2-time was one character and then the other one was a different character. So yeah, I decided to make Meta Knight into 2-time. So who's the second life? Dark Meta Knight. It also makes a bit of sense, as Meta Knight, well yes, the reference I did use, doesn't have a cape. Either can have a cape or can have wings. So I decided to make normal Meta Knight just have the normal cape, and then Dark Meta Knight have wings. I gave them the masks. I didn't really know what to do, so I did kind of decide to give them half masks instead of full masks, but honestly you could arguably try and make there be full masks. I used some other people's designs for human Meta Knight as a reference to kind of make my own design for both of them, as well as having a few parts from 2-time. The main one being the gloves, actually, and also the hair. I essentially just kind of did a general copy of Meta Knight's outfit onto Dark Meta Knight, since they are kind of the same person. I should probably explain the lore behind those two. So, the way that Dark Meta Knight exists is that Dark Meta Knight is from the mirror world. So essentially, Dark Meta Knight is Meta Knight's mirror version.
As the way I explained it was terrible, let me come in with Ponce Buddy, because I am not trying to say this with my own voice and fuck up. In Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, we go into the mirror dimension, a dimension where the mirror versions live. The best way to explain the mirror versions is through Kirby and Mirror Kirby / Shadow Kirby. Kirby is brave, willing to put his life at risk to help, however Shadow Kirby is timid. SK in Amazing Mirror would usually either throw an attack and run away or would immediately run away upon seeing Kirby. Basically the mirror versions are flipped in terms of traits such as bravery.
I made Meta Knight's sword be dagger. Of course, having Dark Meta Knight's sword be, which is basically just the retexture, be that, and pretty much, yeah. I don't really have too much else to say about just the design and such. Now, I need to talk about my thought process behind Susie, and also the next person, who will be Adeleine. Why did I decide to choose those two? God fucking damn it. Lucy! Anyways. God damn it. You might be wondering, why did I decide to choose Susie and Adeleine? Well, when I was thinking about who else to bring in, I did want to bring in at least 2 other characters on the Survivor side. So I had to think of which characters. I decided to have one character be a character that was there since the early days, and one character that's more recent. So, who are my contenders? Well, obviously, I can choose a character that appeared in Star Allies. So the characters that I can think of off the top of my head that would kind of fit that would be Gooey, Adeleine, also Adel, Mercs, and a couple of other characters. So what did I choose Adeleine? Honestly, it was more so just, they would probably be the easiest to translate into a design. I'll get to who I decided Adeleine would be, but for Susie, I actually decided to make her a survivor, and specifically Builderman, both because it fits well, and also the game she comes from, Kind of Robot, is widely regarded as the best Kirby game. So you know what, might as well go ahead and use Susie.
Hopping in with Ponce Buddy again. The game where Susie comes from, Planet Robobot, has Planet Popstar, Kirby and Co's home planet being taken over by the Altman Works Company. Susie is the secretary. I explained it much better than I did with a mirror dimension in the recording, but it was too long. I thought of too much lol. Anyways, back to my voice.
For the design, I decided to take the Roblox hoodie and change it into, and instead of the logo being the old Roblox logo, I made it into an H for Haltman. I have her hood up, which will have the back kind of have a cut so that her hair can go down, as that's a part of her original design. And generally, yeah, for the turret and dispenser, I decided to just have them be reskins, using her 2.0 mech as a basis. Essentially just kind of taking the colors from it for the most part, and yeah. So why exactly did I make her Elliot? Well, I actually kind of decided to make her Elliot as I felt like that would be the most fitting, considering that Adeleine is an artist and something that she can do, at least in Star Allies, is make food. That's the friend ability that Adeleine can do. So an idea that I actually kind of had was essentially just like, the pizzas that Adeleine throw out are doodle pizzas. And heck, you could also reuse them for the artist skins. And I did kind of just copy Adeleine's design for the most part, basically just giving her the oval eyes instead of the eyes that she actually has. So yeah. I feel like this one would probably be the only one that actually has custom animations where she literally flicks her paintbrush to make the pizza. There isn't really much else to say, honestly. So you know what? Let's go ahead and move on to the killers. Okay, so who's this first killer? Maglor. Yeah, I decided to make Maglor be one of the killers. Not just any Maglor, Traitor Maglor. So you might be wondering, who did I decide to make Maglor into? I decided to use 1X. Okay, hear me out for a sec. I feel like 1X fits Traitor Maglor, which is actually what this version of Maglor is called. It would fit the best, as well. I mean, have you seen 1X in Forsaken? Have you seen him? Easiest design to kind of translate into Maglor, and yeah. So, why exactly did I choose Maglor? Well, the same reason why I chose Susie. Well, not the exact same reason. Maglor is honestly one of the fan favorite characters from modern Kirby. And honestly, is most definitely one of the favorite characters of the developers. I mean, seriously, have you seen how many games he's in after his debut? Not even just references, like actual games where you can play as him. He literally got a campaign in the remake of his game. Yeah, he is very well liked. So yeah, he's probably the best representative for modern Kirby. So how did I design him? I did decide to make him a bit more basic, considering that I couldn't really do too much. And also I didn't really have too many ideas, considering, I mean, look at him. I made the Master Crown into the Dominus. The Dominus going to be gold. Gave him horns, of course. And yeah. I gave him a cape to try and represent his fiery body. And for the minion, I gave the minion the rune thing that he has. You can actually see it around his hands. Those are supposed to be in place of the chains. I feel like it's a bit interesting. I made his body red, the cape both red and blue, and also just made his general body, well, black. I mean, it's not like you're going to be able to see too much anyways, because he's just going to have a pretty decent filter over him. I made the, I liked yellow, not yellow, orange, and as for the swords, I decided to make them into Ultra Swords. The reason why Ultra Swords is actually because he uses Ultra Swords in his second fight, in this second phase, I should say. And I felt like it would be the most interesting. For the minion, I did kind of go a bit basic, just having like the general black for the skin and then having red and blue veins over them. I've already mentioned what I made the shackles into and such. But yeah, for his attacks, I decided to make them purple and generally just 3 colors. Cause yeah, I didn't know what to really do for them. But yeah. Okay, so this might be a bit weird. Who did I make Cool Kid? I made Zero into Cool Kid. This one was actually a lot easier to think about, because for Zero, I just essentially had to make sure that, well, it looked like Zero, and Cool Kid was the easiest to make into Zero. And of course, I can make Dark Matter into the minions, which is exactly what I did. It is generally a bit basic in terms of design, but granted, I can't really go too detailed concerning this Cool Kid, but for details on the actual Cool Kid Zero, I gave him the slits around the eye, which is where blood would be ejected from in his boss fight. Yeah, no. Also, I made sure to make this guy very white. The eye is red with a darker red pupil, as that's actually how it appears. For Dark Matter, I gave them some armor referencing Dark Matter's swordsman, a cape also referencing Dark Matter swordsman, and then some orbs around the neck to reference the orbs that Dark Matter has. I decided to make the corrupt nature the little blood pellet things that Zero throws at Kirby during the boss fight. It's just a little reference that I feel like would work. And so, that's all the designs! I hope you enjoyed this video, though just to make this clear, I do not want these designs used in Forsaken. Honestly, I'm kinda just at a point where I feel like it would be bad to just keep those designs in Forsaken, to have these designs in Forsaken, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm kinda just tired of it. So yeah, I hope you all have a good day, night, or whatever. Bye!